Please welcome back on stage Lin Dende, the director, also called JJ Lin.
Thank you, everyone.
He's not alone. He's got a lot of people accompanying him. Please welcome your cast and crew.
Yes, starting from playing Wei's father, Zhu Feng. We have Wei's mother, Zhou Peiyu. Producers, Liu Ying, Zheng Yue, Wang Yiwen. Director of Photography, Zhang Jiahao. And we have our Danish co-producer, Rike. Editor, Pear. Composer, Toke. And colorist, Ito. Last but not least, freshly arriving from the airport, Yan Shuo, Sun Xilun. He has not watched the film, so no spoiler. And Wei, he is actually preparing an exam, so in China, so she couldn't be here.
That's an interesting information, and Mr. White will translate for us from English to Chinese. Do you want to bring the microphone? No. Okay. So, talking about tests and these other things, in your earlier life, before you became a filmmaker, you studied bioinformatics, and I'm putting this in the first question because the way I see the film, this really influenced not only the narration but also the aesthetics of your film. Can you please give us a little bit of background of how these two professions of yours merged in here?
In the beginning, when I first studied film, I was a little self-conscious about where I came from because I didn't come from film. So I didn't talk to anyone about what I studied before, which is biology. But when I was writing the script, I had a little bit of trouble finding the character of the father. And then one day I just thought to myself, why do I hide what I have been doing? Why don't I just embrace it? So I decided to make him a biologist. And from there, I think it kind of changed the whole perspective that I wanted to bring into the film. And then I decided to make it also the style-wise, it's as if we're looking through a microscope at this family. So that became sort of also a starting point of just finding the best perspective to tell this kind of story.
总结一下刚才这个给各位看的，就最开始呢，我做电影之前，其实我不是做过生物科学的。最开始做 作为电影的时候呢，我就不怎么跟周围人谈我以前的这个身份。后来就特别是专辑剧本的时候，想起父亲的这个人设的时候呢，我有点困惑。后来我就决定就结合我现在这个身份。
Okay, so sorry, I got lost. But I want to stay, if I may, for a moment, with what you've just explained regarding the microscope, because we've seen a lot of images. Of course, I wouldn't be able to tell well what kind of animals or cells we are seeing, and how it relates to the idea of the family being the cell of society. If you could elaborate a little bit more, this leitmotif, as we say in German, I don't know if you use that term, but looking at your film, it seems to be quite a crucial instrument to understand what's going on in the family.
你刚才讲起了显微镜这一点，那么本人看见看了这么显微镜下面的这些图像，我根本就分不清到底是什么样的一些动物或者细胞。然而您之前说过，这个电影的可以说是其中一个主题，就是家庭是社会的一种细胞般的单元。那么多详细介绍一下。
So the images under the microscope, I don't think we need to know exactly what animal they are. What's interesting is we find the kind of parallel between what is happening in the micro world and what is happening in the macro world. All these interactions between the characters is in a way reflected in these images of the cells.
我觉得不用就是确定它们到底是属于什么样的动物一些细胞，但我觉得它们就象征着就微观层面和宏观层面之间的互动。我觉得多多少少这些家人之间的互动，也是通过这些细胞之间的互动来象征的。
And in a similar way, this family interaction, and then we have the image of also the city. We also link the city traffic to the very inner kind of bloodstream. So it's in a way we're trying to play with different scales of the image, from the very wide city to the very small.
If I'm informed correctly, also.
那同样的，我们看到很多城市的交通有各种车辆的图像，那这又可以打个比方，就像事业的流通一样。虽然我们是看到不同规模的东西呢，互相之间都是有关系。
If I'm informed correctly, you didn't shoot in one place in China only, but maybe 3 cities you went to, and it's a very, very impressive modern China, but something that could be also like almost anywhere. Can you describe from the logic of your narrative why you needed to go to 3 places, and what exactly was the landscape you were trying to create? Maybe we can also ask your DOP.
如果没有理解错的话呢，就拍摄的城市不止一个，分别是有中国3个城市呢。然后我们这里所看到的城市中国是一种非常现代化的一个城市呢，但我们又看不清它具体属于什么地方。那么在叙述方面，你是怎么选择到这3个不同的城市进行拍摄？想要给我们看什么样的一种风景呢？我可以由导演回答，也可以由摄影指导来多说几句。
I'll start. Well, actually, the answer is kind of in your question already, because I am trying to present a modern phase of China. And for us, the specific city is not important. That's why you probably won't be able to tell. What's more important is that kind of a modernist, where the family's life is set. And then I'll give to the DOP to further elaborate.
我可以先说一下你刚才提问的这种方式，就告诉我们一部分的答案呢。我就是想要在荧幕上给大家显示一种非常现代化的中国。我们又不是特别在乎它到底属于中国哪一个城市，而且估计你看图像是看不出它属于中国的哪个城市。我们只是想要看这种现代化社会当中一些关系。那么我接着让我的摄影指导来进行补充。
So I will talk about in a more logistic perspective, because we shot in 3 different cities. We shot I would say 90% of the movie in one city, Chengdu, and because of some logistic reason, we couldn't do all the drone shots in the city. So we pretty much go to a different city, like 2 or 3 months later, the principal shoot, and we do all the drone shots over there.
或者说一下工作的组织这一点啊，我们90%左右拍摄都是在中国一个城市，也就是成都来进行的。但由于一些具体的原因呢，就无人机的航拍是没法在那个城市进行的，所以我们大概其他拍摄就完成了，大概2到3个月以后，我们到了其他一些城市接着进行拍摄。
Actually, we shot in more than 3 cities. Yeah, we probably shot 5, 6 cities. We also have a few shots from Beijing. So, I mean, yeah, and the vacation sequence was shot in probably 3 different cities in its own. So.
其实还不止3个城市呢，至少5个城市。我们还有一部分镜头是在北京拍的，而这样度假的那些镜头呢，我们分别到了我们制作的话是3个中国城市来拍的。
So yeah, in conclusion, to present a modern face of China is not easy. It's not a small task.
想拍摄一个现代化的中国，还是不易，但我们尽量。
The modern face of China is very much also the family that lives in this modern environment. This is a question to all of you. In how far is this like a typical Chinese family, and how far did you try to make a comedy or a sci-fi? For me, the film has aspects of all these genres. And I don't know if you want to answer, or maybe other family members.
Yes, I will let the family members answer your first question. You need translation.
我们刚才讲起了怎么样给观众看中国有面貌，还是现代化中国的一种面貌。那我想接着来问一下，那我们这里荧幕上看到的这个家庭，算不算是比较典型的一个中国家庭？而且呢，从类型的这个角度来讲，我觉得你有可能是想要拍一个偏科幻的电影，有可能也想拍一个偏喜剧的电影，反正有很多这些不同类型片的元素都在里面，你是怎么样看的？
对，这样的家，请允许我用中文先来回答。这样的家庭算是代表性吗？
I'd say it's probably a fairly representative Chinese family.
Do the other family members agree?
那其他家人还同意这个观点吗？
同意。其实比较典型，尤其是我觉得近10年吧，差不多这样的中产家庭比较多，有很多的全职太太，然后面临有可能一家之主是主要收入来源的丈夫嘛，包括是孩子青春期有可能母亲慢慢跟孩子渐行渐远。我是从自己的角色，谈自己个人的理解吧，对这个家庭所以有可能3个人，尽管在同一个屋檐下，但是有可能在情感和精神层面有点各自为政吧，不太交融。
Well, yeah, I would agree. Particularly over the last 10 years, it's been something quite typical for sort of middle-class households in China, where you have a lot of women who are in full-time work, then you have the husband who's the main breadwinner for the family, and then you have a child who's reached adolescence, so there's more and more distance between you as a mother and your child. So I'd say that's fairly typical. And I'm looking, obviously, from the perspective of my own part in the films. I think that that is a fairly typical thing. You have a 3-person family, they're living under the same roof, but certainly on the emotional level, there's more and more distance between them. It's like they're living in their own worlds.
Before I invite you to ask questions or to give your view on the film, one question to you. You become the intruder into a family where it is my impression that you come from a different kind of family. Please tell us something about how you look at the role of being the intruder into a typical middle class family.
那我们就接受观众提问之前，就先问一下，适应原送的这位演员，就问你一个问题，您好像是一个外来者，就进入了这个家庭啊。然而您本人的家庭背景与他们完全不一样，所以您怎么样看那种就类似于入侵一样的这种角色，就加入他们的家庭，怎么样看自己的这种角色？
可能就是一个缺少父爱、缺少母爱的一个小寄生虫，然后寄生在了土味的家庭。对，然后可能他心里并没有说是需要去寄生，可能是一个本能的反应吧，就是他希望有这样一个家庭。对。
I think it's basically like a kind of little parasite who has been sort of lacking both paternal and maternal love in his life so far, and he perhaps more instinctively tries to go into Tuwei's family to join them, rather than specifically making that kind of plan. It's just an instinct.
Yeah, so saying that he probably also needs love in his life.
Any questions? We have 2 microphones. Please raise your hands, make yourself visible so that if... Yes, here's one question.
Ah, 我有一个很小的问题，电影开始的时候，说在锻炼，对不对？看起来我感觉看起来他们不是真的在锻炼，这个事情是不是故意的？
I have a very specific question to ask. Right at the beginning of the film, it looks like they're doing some kind of sport, but it doesn't look like they're genuinely doing sport or exercise. Was that an intentional choice?
I don't understand the question. What it means not like he's doing any sports. That is
Because
kind of
he's not moving.
Right, but that is a kind of sport. It's kind of a task that we do at school.
其实那种锻炼就是很多学校就要求医院的一种，就这种是这样。
It's not a sport actually. It's a test. It's a physical PE test.
More questions? Yeah, here's one more.
Hi, thank you for the great movie. One aspect that stood out to me was the sound design, specifically those eerie, very disconcerting sounds and how they interact also with the music. So if you could speak maybe a little bit about that.
First of all, I'm very glad you noticed that.
非常感谢这个电影。我现在那个关于声音的一个问题，我们现在比较深的就是声音的设计，特别是那种各种令人非常不安的声响，以及他们与配乐的互动，能不能多说一下你这方面的设计？
Yeah. So first of all, I'm very glad that you noticed that. I'll say something first, and then we have our composer here today, so I'll then ask him to also say something. For me, it started with me wanting to have a very different soundscape to this otherwise more grounded kind of a family story, because of all these tension that you were talking about, the underlying stuff. So we had very long conversations, me and Toke, about what kind of music outlet do we want for the film. Because for my short films, I didn't really work with music at all. So for this one, it's a very long process of us trying to just like discuss, and he would send me some sketches, and we'll try to find what is the best sound, what is the best rhythm, or what is the best instrument for this. And it's interesting, I'm talking about sound with the composer, and then I'm talking about music with the sound editor. So so Toke, after we made the first rough cut, I sent him the cut, and I was like, well, we need music here and there. So that's when we are very sure that a lot of these is going to be about music, but different kinds of music, the different moods, different styles. For example, all the fencing scenes, they were shot in very different ways, so I also told Tokyo we want very different music to go with that. And then with the sound design, the sound designers, they came in slightly later, but what I found really interesting is that they also took on they were inspired by the music, and then they actually chose similar elements to the sound of music to make their sound kind of part of the music and the music part of sound. They kind of try to sort of blend them together. So in a way, for me, I think of these as a very, very long soundtrack. I don't really distinguish between them that much anymore. So I will give it to
Maybe we give some time.
Sorry, I forgot about you. So.
Refer to all the fighting scenes.
The fencing, yes.
好的，感谢你这个问题，而且很高兴你注意到这部电影的各种声音和音乐。是这样子，我本来是想要形成一种反差，就看起来非常和谐的一个家庭，和你所听到的音乐之间有一定的反差。那么还有我的作曲家 Toki 也在场，我当初就跟他谈了很久这个问题。其实我以前拍过那些短片电影是没有怎么搞过配乐的，因为这次就不一样了。所以 Toki 最开始给我发了一些文件，就介绍了一些各种不同的感受。后来我们就慢慢寻找各种适合这个电影的声音节奏、乐器等。其实呢，这个现象挺有意思的。我是和作曲家来谈声效，然后我也是跟负责声效的那个团队来谈配乐。那特别是我们第一次就拍完以后准备要剪辑的时候 ，Toki 又跟我谈了很多，我们尝试过各种类型的音乐，特别是那些基建的镜头，然后配上具体的一种音乐。后来呢，声效设计的那个团队，他们是比较晚加入。然而呢，他们也结合自己亲的这些配乐以后的经验，就纳入了不少来自配乐的元素，就纳入了声效当中，所以他们是相辅相成的。
There were several different needs, I should say, JJ, regarding music. There were these very active scenes where the boys did all kinds of physical exercise, fencing, and for that we chose synthesizer music with a lot of pace. But there were also these kind of more mysterious times where I chose a bashi instrument performed by Barbara Skovman. It's kind of this very gentle sound that we hear in some different layers. So that's two of the layers we used.
You said bashi instrument?
Yeah, exactly. Two French brothers who made this kind of glass. It's just like when you make a sound on a red wine glass, and then the sound is transformed into a large steel plate. And that's kind of their way of making an instrument.
大概是这样子的，我和林建杰导演就谈过，他不同的镜头需要什么样的配乐，然后我们在这个基础上，一方面就是有些镜头是动作非常的多，就是两个男孩之间的互动，还有一些基建的镜头嘛。我们为了这些镜头就配上主要是合成器所产生的音乐，而且节奏是比较快速。另外还有一些就相对比较严肃一点的镜头，我们这里是用了 Barbara Skovman 所饰演的一种叫 bashi 的乐器，是用玻璃的摩擦，然后把声音转移到一个钢铁板产生音乐的。所以呢，至少有很多个层面当中有这两个层面的配乐。
I think we slowly have to come to an end. May I take the liberty of the last question? We haven't really touched on many aspects of what the film is actually about. eerie and suspense kind of narrative. When watching this again with audience, I noticed, and I think there are a lot of people here who know more about China than I do, that they were completely different laughter spot than what I expected, and scenes I found eerie, I don't know if everyone else found the same scenes eerie. Looking at the production and also the end credits, it's a question to you and also the producers. Did you intentionally make a film for an international market when it comes to explaining so that we all can follow even far away from China, or is it a film that wanted to go specifically to a Chinese market, and where were the difficulties in combining those large areas of where the film hopefully will go to?
我就抢用我们这段时间，所以就抢占最后一个提问的机会了。那么本人其实我们还没有来得及谈这个电影的主题本身呢。那本人看，我觉得有很多令人不安的，甚至悬疑一些元素在里边。那么我今天算是第二次看完，然后发现呢，特别是有很多观众在，他们的笑点和我当初看的笑点又不太一样，而且我本人觉得令人不安的那些镜头，不知道观众有没有觉得同样令人不安？所以我想问一下导演和制片团队，那特别是看到了滚字幕以后呢，我想问你们，就这个电影是主要拍给国际的观众，还是内销的那种观众，还是想拍一个国际观众比较能够看懂的电影呢？如果有这两方面的考虑，你们是怎么样协调好的？
Isn't that a beautiful thing that people laugh at different things and people find different things, eerie? So in that sense, I would say yes. I make a film for the widest audience possible, and I would love more people to see the film.
不同的人看一个电影就有不同的反应，这一点非常的美好。我只能说，我拍这个电影是想尽量多给各种各样的观众看，希望他们都会喜欢。
Definitely. I don't know, one of the producers wants to add some last
words?
This was perfect. I think so too. I hope you recommend. Please don't forget to vote. This film is
yes, if you like the film, please vote. Thank you.
For the Panorama Audience Award. I thank David and the entire team for coming, for bringing this wonderful film to us.
And also, before you leave,
we have some gifts.
Surprises outside, so first come, first serve. Thank you.
Vielen Dank fürs Übersetzen. Thank you very much.